The market for Tatsuya Imai is moving, according to Jeff Passan, with some executives telling the top reporter that he could sign at this upcoming winter meetings, and that might be the expectation as teams are showing interest. Imai is meeting with teams, and he is a hot commodity on the pitching market. Today, we're going to talk about the Yankees' odds of signing him, why he could make such a big impact, why he has such a buzz in the market, all of that and more right here on Fireside Yankees. If you like what we do, make sure you like and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell to get notifications on our next uploads. We're trying to reach 30,000 subscribers, so if you subscribe, you share this video with a friend and get them to subscribe, we would really appreciate it. And without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Now, Tatsuya Imai is such a fascinating case in the conversation of pitching projections and looking at stuff and release points and how that can project to the big league level. In the case of Tatsuya Imai, I believe his low release height and his low arm angle are going to really help him in terms of how he's going to translate from NPB to MLB hitters and have a lot of success. He has a 5-foot-tall release point and a 20 to 25 estimated arm angle, according to public reporting out there right now on his repertoire. Now, his four-seam fastball should perform well simply because he releases it from a low arm angle and has good velocity on it, sitting at around 95 miles per hour. The average four-seamer that had a 20 to 25 degree arm angle this past year had an opponent OPS of 714, a 24.5% whiff rate, and a 0.4 run value per 100 pitches. Compare that to the average four-seam fastball performance this past year, where the opponent OPS was 770, the whiff percentage was 21.7%, and it was a negative 0.2 run value per 100 pitches. And you can see that these lower arm angle four-seam fastballs are usually a good amount better than the average fastball. Tatsuya Imai doesn't have quote-unquote great shape on that fastball, but because it's a low arm angle, it's going to approach the plate with a flat angle, and batters are going to swing underneath it, hitting a lot of weak flyouts or having a lot of balls that they get on top of and they hit it straight into the ground, or the best outcome, just swinging and missing. I love a swing and miss pitcher, and I think Imai is going to be able to generate a good amount of swing and miss on that four-seamer at the top of the zone, because I do think that the Yankees can train him to kind of have him more cued for top of the zone, out of the zone, at the top of the zone too, kind of getting chases out of zone, above the strike zone, trying to throw that pitch a little more often. And I think it plays really well with that weird wrong way slider, because it's not as if the slider moves a ton towards right-handed hitters. When we talk about right-handed hitters and wrong way sliders, and you kind of want to compare wrong way sliders to the normal slider, what do I mean by that? Let's kind of break that down very simply. Sliders, and I'm a right-hander, so this worked really well. When you throw your slider, you're going to get around the ball usually. Maybe you can use more of like a gyro slider grip, more of that football spin, whatever it is, and you just try and get around the ball a little bit, and that's going to create spin this way. So if you're a right-handed pitcher, it's going across your body, that movement, instead of towards your arm side, it's going towards your glove side. Now, sliders always move glove side. At least that's what they're supposed to do. That's what pitchers try and do when they spin that slider. But in my slider moves kind of a little bit to this way. Instead of moving this way, it moves a little bit this way. So when we look at his slider, it's very unique for that reason, and it plays very well off the fastball for that reason, because it's just doing a straight drop. It is a straight dropping slider. It's a really effective pitch shape for generating swings and misses, because there are not a lot of pitchers who throw a wrong way slider, and there are even fewer pitchers who throw a wrong way slider and have a release point as low as Imai's. In fact, I couldn't find a comparison for Tatsuya Imai's slider over the last 3 years of pitching samples using pitchers who threw at least 200 sliders. I couldn't find a slider comparable to that one, so that is a really good trait for it. I know wrong way sliders tend to perform worse in terms of run value and slugging percentage compared to their normal sliders, but I think that weird outlier release point is playing a big role in this. When we talk about what makes for a good pitch, being weird is good. Weird is good for pitchers. Weird is always going to result in at least some level of funkiness, some level of deception, whether that's long-term or short-term. Imai is going to throw hitters off by just throwing a pitch they probably haven't seen before. Their eyes are not trained for it, and I think you're going to see a lot of swings and misses out of the zone. If you kind of want to compare this slider shape to one thrown by a recent Yankee, you have Ian Hamilton's slider, and I know Ian Hamilton kind of ended his career with the Yankees on a really bad note, but the slider was never a bad pitch. The slider was always a plus weapon for him. Even this past year, his slider generated a 50% whiff rate. Batters hit 164 against it. So even when he was bad, it was the fastballs. It was never the slider. That slider has always been an effective swing and miss weapon for Ian Hamilton, and that's Lambio. It's supposed to have some arm side movement and also some glove side movement. Imai leading more towards that arm side movement than the glove side movement, and Much lower release point than Hamilton. Hamilton has a 36-degree arm angle, and his vertical release, it's not higher than the league average, but it's not as low as Imai's because Imai is short, and that's kind of part of the appeal here. Imai's a short guy, so while Hamilton's releasing it about 5.9, about 6 feet off the ground, Imai's releasing it like 5 feet off the ground. Ian Hamilton's 6'1", Imai's 5'11", and I think that's a pretty optimistic 5'11". I think he's closer to 5'10", 5'9", just kind of looking at him and sizing him up against people next to him. He is someone who's short, and he has a very much like a side winder release. It's not here, it's not 3/4, it's almost true flat angle. It's very Joe Ryan-esque, a very Luis Castillo-esque, and I think that slider fastball combination are going to play really well off of each other, creating that vertical tunnel top bottom of the zone that works against righties, that works against lefties, so I'm not really worried about the platoon here. Splitter is a third pitch he has in his repertoire. That's a really good pitch. Splitters work really well at the big league level, so just the fact that he throws a splitter is going to give him an advantage here, and that 3-pitch repertoire right there is enough to win baseball games with. That's enough to project a plus strikeout rate, a pretty strong projection for the strikeout rate. I don't know about the ERA and the home run and the walk prevention based on that, but the strikeout rate should be pretty good just based on those 3 pitches and the shapes he has, and the fact that he set the record for the highest single season qualified whiff rate at 32% for any NPB pitcher since the metric began being tracked in 2014. So it's not like you missed out on, while you did miss out on Yu Darvish and Masahiro Tanaka, you also caught Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto in that sample size. Some pretty good pitchers too, like Shota Imanaga and Kodai Senga, and none of them had a higher whiff percentage in a single season than Tatsuya Imai this past season. So I do think that outlier swing and miss ability is going to translate pretty well over to the United States. Even if you want to bake in a regression in whiff rate from 32%, it's not going to be large enough where you're talking about going from 32% to like 25%, 22%, 23%, somewhere in that range. You can project a near 28% whiff rate for a guy like this because NPB hitters try and make contact. They work really hard to make contact. They are not trying to hit for power. That's something Imai really kind of hated about pitching in the NPB and kind of his appeal to coming over to the big leagues. He said it himself. He finds that style of hitting pretty boring, and he thinks it's probably boring to watch, and that's to each their own. I mean, the Japanese Nippon Baseball League has not had a lot of runs scored the last few years, and that's definitely something that can create a viewership issue if you're someone who likes seeing offense, but in the case of Tatsuya Imai, you're going from a league where people will do everything they can to not strike out and don't care about hitting the ball out of the yard to a league where guys are willing to swing and miss and do that in the attempt of hitting the ball out the yard. So yes, they're better hitters in MLB, but I don't think the whiff rate hit is going to be as hard as it would be if the NPB was more of a modern kind of offensive approach league. Just natural swing paths are going to be a little bit more conducive for swings and misses over here. It's why guys like Yamamoto don't have massive drop-offs in their strikeout rate from NPB to MLB. Senga, Imanaga, similar things there. I know Sagano didn't miss a lot of bats here, but he wasn't missing a lot of bats when he came over. So that's kind of part of this as well. You also bake in the fact you're going to get pro instruction, pro coaching. I mean, Imai has a very weird build. It's, again, a very low release height from a short guy. I know Yamamoto has a low release height because he's short, but it is very different. Yamamoto does not have an outlier low release angle. It's a pretty average release angle, and I think Yamamoto's better than Imai, don't get me wrong. It's not close either. Yamamoto's a top 5-6 pitcher on the planet. Imai is not a top 5-6 pitcher on the planet. But when we look at Yamamoto, it's a low release height. It helps the fastball. Imai's got an even lower one. It's freakishly low. It's Luis Castillo-esque, I say. And I say it's Luis Castillo-esque, and Luis Castillo is someone who is, again, taller than Tatsuya Imai. He is 6'2". He's going to have, he's got to release the ball at a 15-degree arm angle in order to get to that release height. Imai's releasing it at a 25-degree arm angle. So, again, I look at Imai and I think that outlier release point is going to really help him as he tries to pitch in the big leagues and generate swings and misses. And there's room for expansion there. He can throw a sinker. He pronates the ball really well. Pronate meaning he gets inside the baseball really well. So you can expect some good, if you give him a good sinker grip, two-seam grip, and he can just kind of throw with the same kind of spin he naturally gives on his four-seamer and his slider, which tends to move into righties, you can have a pretty good sinker right there or a two-seamer. Even just having the shape is going to help. Just having another fastball shape. Can he throw a cutter? That is something that'll be interesting to see because I'm not sure he can. I know that he might be able to throw a sweeper because he spins the curveball really well. He has a lot of spin on the curveball, but I'm not sure it's necessary. We'll kind of see there. I kind of look at like Brian Bayo and him developing a sweeper and wonder if that could happen for Imai. Bayo is someone who could never spin the ball laterally away from himself, or away from right-handed batters, and then kind of figure that out with the Red Sox and them teaching him a really good sweeper that has become a really effective swing and miss weapon for him. But again, I kind of look at the Yankees and I just wonder what they would do with Imai. I think there is a lot of room for him to improve and for them to improve the repertoire. And then if you look at kind of the off-field value here, if he's a number 2 starter with the Yankees, if he's a top 25 to 30 starter in baseball with the Yankees are going to generate so much revenue. Imai's going to be a box office name. He's an international star. He's going to be someone competing in the World Baseball Classic potentially. I'm not sure who does it this offseason, but he might do it in future off seasons. He's someone who could immediately, and I truly mean immediately, become one of the most important pieces on a Yankee team trying to contend for a World Series title year in and year out. That is valuable. I think that's valuable. And I think when we look at the Yankees again, we're going to be looking at them as a team who could certainly go out there and acquire that kind of talent and take them to another level in terms of star power. So the Yankees could definitely, with Tatsuya Imai, generate more Japanese advertising, have a greater international presence, have more international media attention by having an international player who is going to be the biggest Japanese player signed this offseason. It's the kind of thing that I believe the New York Yankees are going to end up looking at and saying, hey, this is more than just a baseball opportunity for on-field results, for winning baseball games. It's an opportunity for us off the field as well, and they need to take full advantage. But if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this quick breakdown and this conversation about Tatsuya Imai, again, Jeff Passan saying that market is moving, baby. We might see him signed in the next week or so. It'd be really interesting to see where he ends up. Let me know again what you guys think in the comment section below. Does he end up a New York Yankee or not? Let us know. Like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell. Again, we're trying to get to 30,000 subscribers. We greatly appreciate your support. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.